I call the parish council meeting to order.
As presiding officer and chair, I'd like to announce the following. This is a public hearing to address the councils on any item on the agenda. Please fill out the speaker form and submit it to the clerk prior to the call of the agenda item, or you will not be given the opportunity to speak. Staff assistance is needed. Available if needed. Items for submission to the council should be handed to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica L. Williams, seated to my left. When addressing the councils, please state your name and title for the official record. The 3-minute rule will be in effect. No debating or confidential statements will be allowed. And finally, all documents in reference to meetings can be found on the LCG website. Council Chair announcements. Item number 5, JO049-2021, was added to this special joint agenda on July 15, 2021, in lieu of JO-045-2021, which was previously placed for introduction at each individual meeting at the Lafayette City and Parish Councils. The first budget reviews are scheduled for Thursday, July 29, 2021. The 9 a.m. meeting will review revenues, an overview of the budget by funds, community development and planning, information services, Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, City Marshal, City Court, Municipal Civil Service. The 1 p.m. meeting will review drainage, traffic and roads and bridges, Public Works capital projects, legal prosecutor, finance, president's office, CAO, and council office. There will be a public hearing for citizen input on the budget, as well as a special joint council meeting at 5:15 on Tuesday, August 17, 2021, on the council auditorium at 705 West University Avenue, Lafayette, Louisiana. I don't have any announcements. Council members, do you have announcements?
No announcements.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, as a side note to, with the announcement of the department schedule for review on July 29th, just as an FYI, the city marshal will be moved to the afternoon. He called, they don't want to change the schedule, which would change the entire schedule, but he asked that he be moved to the afternoon.
Sure.
So I just wanted to make that note in case anyone is listening and is interested in the city marshal's budget.
Absolutely, and I would also like for us to be able to make a note and add this to the Facebook pages, because I know I just rattled off a lot of day and times and went really fast. I want to make sure it's available for the public as well.
That's a good idea, because we've had a couple of other calls from other departments, and they just making adjustments in the day, so we could repost it with the alternate schedule.
That's perfect. Thank you for that, V. Executive Mayor President's Report.
Thank
The
you,
floor
Madam
is
Chair.
yours, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening to everyone. So we would like to recognize on the Executive Report a Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for 8 consecutive years. LCG, Lafayette Consolidated Government, has received the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. This is the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting. It exemplifies the Office of Finance and Management's commitment to provide a budget document that serves as a policy document, financial plan, operations guide, and communication tool for our community. Out of 367 parishes and municipal governments in Louisiana, only 13 have won this award. The Office of Finance and Management satisfies nationally recognized guidelines to receive a proficient rating in the 4 required categories. So a big thanks to Lori and her staff. Thank you to all the countless hours and weekends that you guys put into giving us a quality product each and every year. But 8 years in a row, I'm very impressed and very honored to serve with you, to serve with your staff. Thank y'all. And I wish everybody got to experience Budget on the Wall, Kearney. But it's like a foreign concept to anybody that doesn't know. Okay. Yeah, with your permission.
Yes, of course. Oh, and a round of applause for everybody.
Thank you, Laura.
If the council members could stand,
Oh,
so they could see
everybody.
you guys.
Congratulations. Mayor, was that all? Oh, no, it certainly is not. Lori?
Opportunity to give my staff credit. All my staff couldn't be here. I do have the budget manager and our controller here, but we have a whole group of other staff that work on this. And I want you to think it just takes 3 of us to get this award, because it takes a whole team. And they all have families and houses and homes and loved ones to take care of, so they're not here tonight. But this is an award we're very proud of. We work hard for this award. It's not easy, as our mayor president said. Only 14 municipal and parish governments in the state of Louisiana have earned this award. And I can tell you that when we go before the rating agencies, when we go before other financial reporting entities, they know that we have voluntarily set our budget off to a group of nationally recognized professionals to review and grade our budget to make sure that we're meeting the demands and the expectations of the public. I know it's an intimidating document, it's 400 pages, but if you take a look at it, there's a beginning section that tells a layperson how to use the budget document. There's a glossary in the back for terms that you don't understand that you can look up. And then my office is always here, because we like for you and we like for our citizens to understand and have information at their hands, so that way when they're making decisions, when you're making decisions on how to use the budget, when they're making decisions when they go to the polls, they can make the best decisions possible. And that's our goal in preparing the budget document. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori? Congratulations to you and staff, and those who are not here, congratulations. Just out of curiosity, the 14 that you mentioned are cited in the state. Are we the largest municipality?
No, we are not the largest. We have one of the largest budgets, because half of our budget is a electric utility system that a lot of other governments don't have. We may be the second largest.
Great. Speaks volumes. Good job.
Mayor, is that all for your report?
That is it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, appreciate it. Moving on to joint introductory ordinances. This is a public hearing. Speaker sheets are available for anyone wishing to address the council. The 3-minute rule does apply. Jeremy, will you please read?
Joint Ordinance 43, 2021, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council adopting an operating and 5-year capital improvement budget of revenues and expenditures for the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government for the fiscal year beginning November 1st, 2021 and ending October 31st, 2022.
Can I get a motion and second from the city council? I have a motion by Cook, second by Lazard.
I need a motion and second from the parish council. Been moved by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Rubin.
Council discussion? I'm not seeing any council, Mayor President?
I was going to let the council go first. So look, this is our budget, my second budget to work with these councils on, so thank you so much. It is a balanced budget, it's a responsible budget, and I look forward to the next few weeks discussing at our hearings. And, but I want to thank our chief financial officer, our chief administrative officer, the chief of staff who's not here with us, but all the department leaders, and I also thank the council members that took the time to send in requests and follow up on requests. And we started this about 4 or 5 months ago, so I know we've been through a lot together, and I just want to thank you for that. A few little highlights here. So last year's budget was $608 million, and this year it is $629 million. And that is thanks to our business owners for hanging in there and, increasing that revenue, which has allowed us to focus on core priorities. But also it's a change in behaviors. It's a change in the way we think and the way we do things and our spending habits. Last year we had to make some tough decisions, but those decisions have paid off. We're doing more with less. We've had public-private partnerships that many of you have helped us with, so we appreciate that. And we're relying on innovation to make us more efficient so that we can do more with less. Again, our fiscal house is in order, and it's due to a lot of decisions that we had to make jointly, both councils and administration last year, but I'm proud of us for getting through that, and I'm proud of the input that the public provided during that process. This year's budget protects the finances of the city of Lafayette. It only spends $3.1 million of general fund balance, leaving a city fund balance of $28.4 million, which is well above the recommended level for reserves. Now, this healthy reserve is even after we dedicated $30 million about a few months ago in May towards drainage projects. And again, I thank both councils for unanimously passing those measures. This year's budget also protects the finances of the parish. We're leaving a parish fund of $2.4 million, increasing to a forecasted $3.1 million. And when we took office just 18 months ago, the forecast in the parish general fund was forecasted to be about $50,000 to $100,000 at this point. So tough decisions last year. I understand we all went through it, but we're starting to see the fruits of our decisions, and I'm very excited about that. This year's budget allows us to responsibly invest in drainage, roads and bridges, public safety, but also competitive investments, and you'll see that reflected in the budget, both this budget and the ARPA budget that I'll also present briefly after this. The budget will be posted before the end of the night, both this budget and the next budget we'll talk about. The proposed operating and capital budget presentation, the formal presentation, will be on July 29th later in this month. So with that said, the budget is provided to you for introduction, and I appreciate your hard work and consideration. It's okay.
And
Thank you.
as an FYI, the staff has received your budget documents, and we'll get them to you.
Thank you. All right, is that all, Mayor?
That's it.
Okay, perfect, thank you so much. Council members, any discussion? Not seeing any. Veronica, do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
All right, let's go to a vote from the councils to introduce the ordinance.
City District 1,
Yes.
City District 2,
Yes.
City District 3,
Yes.
City District 4,
Yes.
City District 5,
Yes.
Parish District 1,
Yes.
Parish District 3,
Yes.
Parish District 4,
Yes.
Parish District 5. Motion to introduce is approved.
Jeremy, will you please read?
Joint Ordinance 49, 2021, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operating and capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing revenues and expenditures in the amount of $85,726,551 in coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds awarded from the U.S. Department of the Treasury and adopting the American Rescue Plan Act budget.
Can I get a motion and second from City Council? I have a motion by Nakhan, second by Lewis.
I need a motion second from Parish Council. Been moved by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Rubin.
Council discussion. Mayor President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, thank you to councils for your inputs and requests. Thank you to all the stakeholders and members of our community that have provided input. These proposed expenditures reflect our 4 areas of focus, which is drainage, roads and bridges, public safety, but also competitive investments. And to break it down, and again, we're just talking about the recovery funds at this point. Drainage in this proposed budget is $22.6 million in drainage improvements. Roads and bridges, we will be investing $28.3 million. Public safety, $14.6 million. And then competitive investments, $20.1 million. By introducing this proposed spending plan, it starts our formal public process, although this process has been going on for quite some time. You know, I look forward to engaging with the councils, our stakeholders, and the public. And this proposed budget is part of a comprehensive financial approach. In totality, with our regular operating and capital budget, with our 5-year capital spending plan, all other financial vehicles that we use in consolidated government, and this ARPA budget, I am pleased to say that the $38.4 million in council requests, we were able to accommodate $32.8 million of these requested projects. So the public is seeing good collaborative effort between both councils and the administration. We've been working on this diligently since March, as many of you know, when we found out that the allocation formula for the city and the parish of Lafayette. And again, I appreciate your consideration and your teamwork. We do have printed out versions for the council. I think we have a few extra for media, whoever the CAO distributes, but it's also going to be online. Yeah, good. Also going to be online before the end of the night. So thank you, and that concludes my presentation.
Can you, thank you. Councilman Lazard, you have the floor.
Couple of quick questions. As a matter of, just as a matter of procedure, why is this on a joint agenda and instead of separate agendas when the monies themselves were pre-allocated in a separate city allotment and parish allotment?
So this was, I made a request to the two chairs. This was, I guess, different approaches that we could do. We felt like this was the most efficient way to have both councils together to ask questions, because this has to be adopted by both councils.
You should still have the floor.
Yeah. Oh,
You're,
different.
okay. Councilwoman Cook, you have the floor.
Thank you. I have a question about that. When the money was allocated, it was allocated so much for the city and so much for the parish. I mean, I think it was 36 for the city, 47 for the parish. And so is there a reason that we can't put this out as a city ordinance and a parish ordinance?
So thank you. That's what I was looking for. All right.
Because the funds, yeah.
Okay, so this is, a couple thoughts, and legal can opine if he'd like, but this is a budget process, so ordinarily the budget, well, every year the budget has to be approved by both councils, so this would be an ordinary budget process. So keep in mind, the parish was allocated 47 million, the city was allocated 36. The parish is, under my proposed plan, I don't think we'll get any pushback, is going to spend 13.5 million of its dollars either on city parish initiatives or city-only initiatives. So during this process, I look forward to the dialogue, and once you go break through the 70 line items, just like any other budget process, we go line by line. As we dive into these 70 items, if there's a issue that we need to talk about through both councils, administration, we're glad to do it. And most of these projects should look very familiar. Y'all recommended them.
Yeah, no, look, I haven't seen it, so I'm not really sure what the projects are, but comprehensive, everything. But this is, I mean, you're calling this a budget process, but these are grant monies, right, that we're talking about. This is money that, recovery funds that we're receiving that, like when the police department gets recovery, or not, they're not called recovery, when they get grant funds,
Right.
Basically, the city, because it's the police, it goes to the city and we decide how that, or the police department decides, but we get to actually vote on it. So I guess I'm just confused of this this is not really this is separate from the budget process. This is not money that was in our budget. This is money that we're receiving, as in grant kind of money.
All right, so it's not a grant. It's money that needs to be both recognized and appropriated, and that is through the budget process.
What is?
Okay, say that again?
So this is not a grant. This is money that's been appropriated at the federal level,
Right.
appropriated to, across our country, to either municipalities, to states, to counties/parishes, and in our consolidated government, the parish was directly appropriated. The city is receiving its funds from the federal government through the state of Louisiana because of the municipality component. Those funds have to be both recognized and then appropriated, and that is through the budget process. It's not a grant.
Okay, so maybe we don't call it a grant, but it's money that is coming in from the federal government that we, again, depending on where it's going, and 36 million of it was allocated for city and 47 for parish. So is it possible that we do two separate ordinances so that basically, we can separate the funds, and then the projects, once we see the projects, we can have an agreement to still do a project. That's not saying we can't do the project if it's a project that both the city and the parish agree on, that, we can share the funds. But at this point in the game, because the money was allocated to the city and part of it was to the parish, is there any way that we can present it as two separate ordinances?
So the charter provides that all budget processes follow a certain process. So this is the process when you recognize revenue and appropriate funding and expenditures. So that's what the charter calls for. I think from a pragmatic standpoint, once you look through the projects, I don't think it's, and I think that's what you're alluding to, I don't think there's going to be an issue, but that's why we have these deliberative efforts, and maybe there is, and we take a different path, and I welcome anybody's thoughts. And just like the charter requires the executive branch to start the budget process, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, I'll come back to it.
Mayor, I have a question. So
ma'am.
as we're reviewing this, and thank you for the way it's been presented, I'm just flipping through it, I see some things that I'm pretty excited about.
Me too.
Not just in my district, but
Sure.
some of your other districts. I look forward to some light bedtime reading this evening, so thank you.
There's a quiz.
Um,
Yeah.
My question is, moving forward, because I know there may be something in here I want to add, something, who knows, is how do you see this process moving forward? Do you see, has every single cent been accounted for here? If there's something that maybe, like I have a project in my mind that maybe is in here, maybe it's not, and you and I have spoken about it at a constituent's home, is there an ability for us to bring something that may be not included in here if there are available dollars? So I guess two questions. Are there any more cents left? Or has everything been accounted for? And then how do you want us to present something alternatively?
I appreciate that. So every cent has been accounted for, but also keep in mind this is part of the comprehensive financial plan of our government. When you're talking about bonding capacities to regular operating capital expenditures to now ARPA, 5-year capital plan, my recommendation would be bring it up and let's find out a way. And look, even if we go the ordinary process and we say in the next 2 weeks, I welcome any of our council members. All of you have been engaged with your constituents. These projects wouldn't be here if you weren't, so I trust that process. This is just the formal process because the charter dictates it that way. But I would prefer that you call me and let's meet on it. Let's see and whether we amend the ARPA budget through our regular amendment process through the budget, or we find it in a different vehicle. I'm open to it. But I think maybe you're asking also technically how would we amend this. So we have the 70 line items. It looks just very similar to the budget process we're about to go forward through. It would be the same process. If you have an amendment, you can, and as far as the rules go, I defer to the council on that as far as budget hearing rules, and so that's what I'm relying on. But the 7 items, we just take it one by one, and if you wanted to amend that. But again, from a practical standpoint, I would ask, and a courtesy standpoint, I would ask that you reach out to me, all 10 of you, and if we have any amendments that we need to consider, let's do it.
Perfect, thank you.
And Madam Chair, for
Yes.
clarity, because first thing in the morning, we got deadlines to meet as relates to publication and following the charter. Mr. Mayor, you referred to following the budget process. So is this intended to be adopted on September 9th, like the budget document is, or in 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay, so, because we got to put that in the notice as well. What date is it anticipated to be finally adopted? So we just want to be sure, so we could publish correctly.
Right, and I'm going to say this loosely and legal, feel free to trump what I'm about to say, okay? But it's similar to, it's almost analogous to when you do a budget revision, a budget amendment.
Right.
It's similar but not exact, meaning that you make that budget amendment and then you intro it and then
Correct,
final.
I understand, right, but so when you compare it to the budget process and following the budget process, just want to be sure it wasn't gonna be adopted in September.
Thank you. And if you notice, and just I appreciate that, Madam Clerk. Also, if you notice, a lot of the line items will include engineering and design and architecture. We could have recognized the revenue and appropriate the money in the next fiscal year, which would delay it though till November 1st. And keep in mind, we only have a certain amount of period of time to spend this money. Some of these projects have not been engineered. So I'm thinking of the sidewalks and the net that you and I talked about, just came to mind. Those have to be designed, those have to be engineered. You got to do some preliminary planning and things like that. Doing it this way would allow us to go ahead and start that process. So.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Gilbo, you have the floor.
Mr. Mayor, President,
Yes, sir.
well done. I like what I see. There's a lot of exciting projects that I can get my arms around. A couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Do any of these funds supplement or replace funds that currently exist in the proposed budget going forth?
Can you repeat that? Maybe I didn't understand.
Do any of these funds supplement or replace projects that are funded into the future?
Oh, so in our five-year capital plan, or maybe, yes. So again, that's why I was very careful to say comprehensive financial plan, because this is in the totality. So an easy answer to that is like engineering and preliminary planning. This would supplement it, or actually it would replace it in the ordinary scheduled path, for lack of better words.
Okay. I can only assume that we have the federal regulations that dictates what we can and cannot spend these funds on. I'm going to make the assumption, which might be bad, that all of these fall within those guidelines.
Yeah, that is to our best of our knowledge. We wouldn't introduce it to the councils without clearing it through legal. And we also have a consultant that we rely on to make sure that we're.
So we
spending
do
this
have the final regulations that were used to develop this.
money. So, what's that? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Okay, so we're on the same page. Y'all can't hear, but we were on the same page for the record. All right, and I always feel comfortable when that happens. Yes, as they stand today, this is in compliance with it, compliance with that. Also, remember, and it's in my budget message, I talk on this, but yeah, for a while there, the guidelines or the guidance from the federal government was changing on about every day and a half. That slowed down. We're now at a point where I'm comfortable presenting it to you. Of course, clear through legal, clear through our consultant that we brought on to make sure that we are doing this the right way. And for our CFO, our award-winning CFO, to recommend using someone to help guide us with that so that we're in compliance. I listen every time. I'm batting 1,000 with that, so if she recommends it, I go with it. Thank you.
Is there a way we can see what, that way when if I'm seeing whether or not having to pester you every time I have a question on something, is there a way that we can get just a list broken down of what is included or is not? How was the list? Was it what is allowed or what is not allowed?
What is not allowed?
So it's a short, so I would hope that's a short list of what's not allowed rather than a long list. So can we get just that list sent? I assume all the council members will want that. That way we can know whenever we're thinking about what we'd like to see added.
We will put something together, send it over to you guys, and we'll go from there. And again, though, remember when you feel like you need something added, please call me, let's meet on it, because we have 5 or 6 financial vehicles that we could use, and it may make more sense to not delay ARPA and put it somewhere else. Because we can always, especially on the capital stuff, where we have a 5-year capital plan.
I have a follow-up to Ms. Liz's question. Is there a synopsis or a digest of what the regs say that might be helpful? In addition to what Liz is asking for, what's allowable, not allowable, maybe something in the regs, a summary type. Is there a digest or something that?
If you look on the internet, I feel like there's summaries to summaries, and I'm not
Okay.
sure if all those summaries are even legitimate. So I defer to legal, but we'll get something and present it.
But that is the problem.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
so many different ones out there. I'd like to see the one that actually you used,
Yeah.
that we can, and I'm assuming this has been cleared through the register and everything else in terms of the feds.
We'll provide the council.
Yeah, okay.
Councilman Carlson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So first, let me say thank you to the administration. As I'm kind of flipping through these projects, I think there's a lot of projects that are going to be of substantial benefit, both parish-wide, in the city of Lafayette. I mean, it's a substantial list, and so I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. You mentioned a deadline that we have to spend this money. I certainly don't want to pass up that deadline. Do you know when that is that we have to have this money spent? Because
2024.
2024?
So it has to be allocated by 24 and spent by 26.
Well, Mayor, can you get an official answer? We're saying 2024, but
Yeah, you're right. You're right. By the end of 2024, I was asking Laura if she had an exact date.
I was so,
Obligated.
with the 400-page plus document that Lori's going to want me to read tonight, and plus this, I don't feel comfortable saying in 2 weeks I'm going to be fully prepared to put my stamp of approval on these projects and anything like that, especially knowing that we're jumping into budget time and we're kicking that off. So, I'm fine, at least at this point, I think from what I've heard, introing it, but can we defer this and get some of these? I know you had some questions about city parish. can we defer the final adoption of this so it's not 2 weeks from now, whether it's a month or whatever that might be? Like I said, I want to make sure that I'm able to really tackle the budget, and it gives us some time, I think, to really sift through the details of all this, set up meetings with you guys, or have any of our questions answered.
I would certainly want all 10 of you to be as informed as you possibly can. Again, I follow the budget or the charter provides a process, so that's what we do. My recommendation is if we could just intro it and not defer final just yet, knowing that that's quite a good possibility. And once you go through I would ask you guys to look at all 70 items. And if you have questions or you feel like it's a need to defer, talk with your colleagues, talk with me. You may not. It's unlike the budget, it's a lot more straightforward, in my opinion, but again, we've been working on it a while. But look, I respect that. I respect that wholeheartedly, and I think your constituents would too. But if we may surprise ourselves.
So your request would be
Pass it. My request would be to go ahead and
Pass as
intro it,
is.
and we can always defer it at the next
2
meeting.
weeks from now if we feel, but we don't have a joint meeting. I mean, if there is discussion.
I feel confident that we can communicate. I have a great relationship with each of you, I find, but the two chairs I utilize a lot to speak for their respective councils, and maybe we can get some feedback. But again, whatever the councils want, the reason why I'm putting an emphasis on that is to Councilman Gilbo's point. We did have to shift a few in order to get the engineering and architecture and any other preliminary planning part started quicker. We did shift it from the ordinary operating and capital budget that wouldn't start till November 1st, or even later, quite frankly, on the 5-year capital plan. And that was due to a lot of your requests, a lot of priorities that I get, through my every course and scope of everyday business. But just know that if you defer it, you do defer that necessary piece. So just take that in consideration. And even if you did, I wouldn't fault you for it, but you at least, in my opinion, we at least owe it to ourselves to at least look through the 70 items if you still feel like you need more time. I respect that.
Well, Councilman Carlson, we do have 3 other council members that have buzzed in. If you want to
I'll
hold
wait
that
and see
deferral
what
for a
everyone says,
second.
yeah.
And we'll just hear what they have to say. We can always come back to you if you want to officially give that. Councilwoman Cook, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, first, let me back up. Thank you for this.
Thank
I kind
you.
of came at you, and I apologize for that. With the city-parish thing, I guess this whole joint thing kind of caught me off guard, just the fact that it was 2 separate pots of money. And, okay, so backtrack. These projects look great, but I would have to agree with Councilman Carlson that I really feel like we need a little more time. 2024, it's not like it has to be done by tomorrow. It gives us a little more time to look at it because, honestly, the sidewalk projects, some of these projects that we talked about, maybe they don't want them anymore. So I feel like I'd like to be able to look at this a little closer to see what issues, what projects we're talking about to give us a little more time. If we are talking a budget process, we have 2 months for the budget. So I think if we defer 2 weeks, a month, I don't know if that's going to be that big of a deal in terms of us being able to just digest it a little bit more. Because they are good projects, again, and I want to feel good about it. I want to be able to tell the public what they are and feel good about the fact that we're using this money for these projects, and I don't feel like I'm going to be prepared to do that at the pace that we're going right now. So I would like to support a deferral as well. So I will defer to everyone else and see what if anybody else has any comments, I'll
Okay,
drop
we
the
can
floor.
always come back to that. Councilman Lazard, you have the floor.
I agree with that, just due to the volume of information. I certainly agree with that. And I think that we're under some strict timelines, pre-established timelines with the budget itself. So, I strongly recommend that. The other thing is, I know that there were separate allocations awarded, right? So much to the city, so much to the parish. So my question is, and I see what I guess would be best be considered as some joint projects, if you will?
That's fair, yeah. And it's broken down in the booklet that I provided.
Yeah, the projects are broken down, but the costs aren't broken down.
Oh, no, it's broken down immensely. But I just handed it to you in all fairness.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. It's broken down a couple different ways. No, that's okay.
And that's the other issue, just getting it tonight.
Sure. Hey, look, I don't want any of the council to feel like I'm rushing you. The only reason, because when I asked legal, I had two options. Doing the ordinary timeline where we adopted in the regular budget process to go and start November 1st, or start quicker. A lot of these items on this list are some pretty high priorities, as you can see. Some of them not as high in the priority list, but definitely would improve our quality of life here in Lafayette. But if the council needs 2 more weeks, 4 more weeks, whatever you need, I mean, I'm going to respect that. My only approach my proposed approach would be to look at the 70 items and see if you still need a deferral, and if you do, I respect that.
Okay.
Meaning we can defer in 2 weeks if y'all need.
My other question, just following up on Councilman Gilbo's question earlier. The money from these funds, right? Are we using them in addition to funds that would normally be allocated in the budget, or in place of?
Both. Remember, it's a comprehensive plan. So we have the ordinary operating capital budget. We have the 5-year capital project list budget. We have bonding capacities in certain areas. We have this ARPA funds that we're now considering it. So while I was doing my regular executive budget to present to you, which we're doing today.
You factored this in?
Yeah, we factored that in. And really, I'll be honest with you, most of those decisions came with the preliminary planning component of it, engineering, architect, because if we go this approach, we can start that process sooner as opposed to waiting until November 1st. Especially when you're talking about drainage projects and things and that really have an impact.
Councilman Tabor, you have the floor.
Forgive me if you answered this question already, but I'm kind of like a kid at Christmas looking at, opening his presents. And thank you for that. But some of these, like the asphalt overlay, is there some breakdown somewhere in it? Or is it just a general that you're going to?
Say again? Yeah, that's right. Okay. So that's the asphalt overlay okay. So that's our asphalt overlay program. So you actually do have discretion, both the council can direct it. We can do it administratively, which
So
is a lot
nothing
of
picked
times.
out. That was my question.
That specific line item.
Right.
And again, if you look.
Same thing with the roundabout. There's a,
No, the roundabouts are specific. So
they got a place where it shows that though?
And if you look at the back, I think it's page 13 and after that, it'll go per category, and you'll have line items where you can cross-reference. So most will be absolutely specific, but the asphalt, you just picked one that happened to be
Well, that was my,
a little generic.
You've been to
That was your
camp school
request?
before.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. So, anyway,
I got my helmet.
okay. All right, I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that all? I'm sorry, Mr. Tabor. Mr. Lewis, you have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, President, I appreciate you giving all the opportunity. I think you contacted all 10 council members and asked them what they would like to see in their prospective district. I really appreciate that. But as I look through this proposal, I'm sure everybody's doing the same thing. They're looking, identifying what is in their district, and so some people are saying that, oh, this is a good job, and like Mr. Tabor was just saying, I just want to know what is broken down, because I'm like everybody else. I'm looking to see what's like people say, the north side of town, Mr. Tabor district and my district and Mr. Lazar and whoever else. And I see a few things, but I think I would like to see more. Probably there is more once I get into it, look at these 400 pages. So that's why I have to echo what Mr. Carlson is saying. If we can have more time to look at this, so when we go out to the community, to our constituents, we can tell them, hey, this is where this money is being spent at. It's not just for certain areas. Again, I'm like everyone else on this council, all my colleagues, I'm looking to see what's in the district that I represent, so I can go back and tell my constituents and the people that supported me, this is why I'm here, this is why you elected me, to make sure you get what is due. And I'm sure there is in there, but I just don't see all of the things I would like to see.
And we can help with that, too.
Yeah.
One other thought on that, if any of you want us to do that and help you, let's look at the total budget, not just the ARPA component, look at all the other financial vehicles that I referenced, and I think it might help you out. Because this is a collective, collaborative approach.
Okay, well, thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Councilman Gilbo, you have the floor.
All right, page 8 of the budget, interesting. City projects, but the funding source is parish ARPA. How did we arrive at that? Now, we're talking about city projects with parish funds.
Yeah, the city of Lafayette is in the parish of Lafayette, and we felt that that was a appropriate expenditure. You said page 8, huh?
You especially should love that. You represent 100% of the city.
Excuse me?
I don't think anybody on your left is going to argue on that one. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's a good point, too. I mean, the needs of the city far exceeded the 36 million, so, but I mean, look, this is one benefit of being a consolidated government, one benefit of having the dialogue between the two councils and administration. But these are requested projects. In full candor, a lot of them were requested by the city that I did appropriate the funds through the
And
parish.
don't get me wrong, I support that, and I think that's a good move to make sure that as much as we can, address the projects, the issues that are out there.
Sure.
There should not be that division, that line. If we can do it, let's do it.
And I appreciate that.
Is that all, Mr. Gilbo?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Cook, you have the floor.
Okay, I'm back. I would actually like to ask for an official deferral, so I'm going to make that.
Okay, when would you like to officially defer this for?
I would like
How
to
long?
defer it for an extra 2 weeks, so basically a month from now.
A month from now. V, can you give me that date?
August 17th.
August 7th?
17th.
17th? Where'd the year go? Okay, August 17th. I have an official motion to defer this vote for final until August 7th.
I think legal wants to chime in.
Chairman, I just want to ask a clarifying question. Is the motion to defer the introduction of this, or to introduce it and defer final adoption?
Defer final, I want to defer final adoption. It's been introduced.
Yeah.
Add 2 more weeks to the final adoption, so yeah.
So your motion should be to introduce the ordinance with the final adoption being on August 17th.
Correct.
I have a motion. Do I have a second by the city council? Second by Councilman Nakhan. Do we need to do one for the parish?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you should, I'm sorry.
I need a motion second from the parish council. Been moved by Councilman, but Rubin, second by Carlson, to defer to the...
To introduce and then
Introduce
defer.
and defer.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, well, Councilwoman Cook, are you done?
I'm done, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lazard was before you. Can he go first? Are you going to, okay. Councilman Nakhan, you have the floor.
This deferral basically gives us 2 more weeks to think about it, but if anybody needs more time, it can be deferred again. So don't be afraid to defer it now for a month, because this gives us more time to take it in and breathe a little bit. And then looking over the way the money was split, I think there's some logic to it based on how the taxes are collected and spent, the way I look at it. So I want to say that there's very good positive possibilities with this, but I move we all defer for at least a month.
Thank you, Mr. Nakhan. Councilman Carlson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's funny because whenever we got this agenda last week, I saw it and I was like, budget, what budget? And then seeing this, it's good to see that everything we had requested for the normal budget, it's good to see that everything we had requested in the normal budget and couldn't fit overwhelming majority of it got funded by these projects. So that's really good, because I was thinking, wait, I didn't have any input, and then whenever I see this, it's like, okay, well, maybe I did have input, and so I probably should have dialed it back a little bit until I had gotten this. But I agree. I think it is. I think it's appropriate to say, okay, with the budget and everything going on, let's take this time. But I agree with the mayor president. I don't want to just defer. If we can get some of these projects rolling, let's do them as soon as possible. So I certainly have a few questions. I'll reach out to you guys this week just to get them answered. And I'm happy to see these projects moving forward. It'll be good, I think.
To Councilman Carlson's point, I want to ask Veronica, could you get the council secretaries to go ahead and email each individual council member to find out their availability to either meet with the mayor and administration and Lori to discuss these items? Because the last thing I want to see is to continue to look, if we need to defer because there's still more conversation, great. But I don't want to continue to kick this down the road or come here to vote night and maybe someone hasn't had time to look at it, have the appropriate discussions. I want us to move swiftly in this. So please email each council member. And I'm going to speak for you guys too because you're nodding. So thank you for that.
We agree.
And the administration to set up meetings individually with administration to discuss their concerns at their earliest convenience before August 17th. Councilman Lazard, you have the floor.
This is just a brief announcement, Madam Chair, that Councilman Lewis and I actually have a town hall meeting scheduled
Wonderful.
for tomorrow evening
Great idea.
to solicit public input on the use of the ARPA funds, if you will. And this meeting was scheduled before we even knew that the mayor had prepared a list of proposed projects. We didn't know that until we got the agenda. I was of the impression that the only thing that was going to be happening tonight was introduction of the ordinance and giving the mayor the authority to accept or receive the funds. We didn't know that we were going to be presented with a proposed list of projects until we saw the agenda, which was after we had scheduled the meeting. So just for public notice, we will be proceeding with the meeting, the town hall meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the Clifton Chenier Center to solicit public input. That's it.
Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, and Councilman Lazar, thank you, also Councilman Lewis. And if there's anything we can do to help for the town hall, and if any other council members are hosting one, or you're reaching your constituents. And again, if you look at the list, though, you probably would have already talked to your constituents. If I had to bet, I don't think you would have come up with these requests with just, willy-nilly, But anyway, so I appreciate that. And again, I think the extra 2 weeks to plan, do your due diligence is well received. I understand. So, but we will make ourselves available. So please reach out to us. Call me, make a meeting, whatever we have to do, make an appointment. I want to make sure your questions are answered. But if you look at each item, I don't know if there's an item on there that doesn't touch somebody's life. So let's not delay it. There's a reason why we went this vehicle. So let's not delay it just to delay it. But if we need to, I respect that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I assume you're about to put this online for people to see as well, some sort of breakdown exactly what we have here. Oh, sorry, Mayor. I may have already taken you off the mic. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, exactly what we just handed out, that will be on our website, so everybody can have it.
Perfect. Thank you for that. All right.
And if we could receive an electronic copy, we can attach the item to the ordinance, the actual ordinance. So when they click on the ordinance, they'll see the budget. An electronic version, which they usually do for backup
Perfect.
information anyway. I sure will. Yes, sir.
Perfect. Councilman Nakhan, you have the floor.
How soon is your intent to have this up on the website? I mean, this week?
No, before the end of the night. It may actually be up there right now. I don't know.
Excellent. Okay, priceless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we're done with this meeting.
Maybe. Jamie Angel, where you at?
Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, he's
All
on the
right.
internet right now. Oh, anyway, sorry.
All right, so we've just had council discussion. I don't see anyone else signed in to speak. Veronica, do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am.
All right, let's vote for both councils to introduce the ordinance.
And defer
And defer.
to
And, I'm
August
sorry,
17th.
To defer the ordinance, finalization of the ordinance.
Yes.
City District 3,
Yes.
City District 4,
Yes.
City District 5,
Yes.
City District 1,
Yes.
Parish District 3,
Yes.
Parish District 4,
Yes.
Parish District 5, Parish District 1. Motion to introduce with August 17th as the final adoption date is approved.
All right, now, go ahead.
I adjourn the parish council meeting.
And I adjourned the joint and city council meeting. Got it. Can we just move right along into the city council meeting?
You can stay there.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.